Hey guys, what's up? Thank you for watching my channel. It's me, Eric. I figure I'd post these update videos approximately 1/3 anytime I get into about 1/3 of the project. So the next one you'll get will be the 2/3, and then the final will be the finished, the complete circle. But I figure I'd post this video just to discuss some of the challenges that I've had. I can tell you guys right now, this is not an easy project. At first, when I first started this, I thought I bit off more than I could chew, if I'm being perfectly honest. There is a lot of stuff you have to remember. There's a lot of things that go into an RV. There's a lot of structural things you need to be mindful of. On top of that, when it comes to an RV, there's really no reference points for any of these side rails, nor the skirting. You rip off that old stuff, you're not saving any of that really for templates. I did try doing that, but it's just not going to be feasible, and you'd waste far more wood and far more of your mind than just simply trying to figure it out yourself. So what I did is, it was easier to put the rails back up so I can get a reference point, and that's something you guys are going to have to do if you embark on this project as well. You got to put the rails back up because, like I said, there's no reference points on any of those rails. On top of that, some of the other challenges I've faced is lack of room. I have a garage, but most garages aren't 28 feet long, and that's why I built this design right here. And then I leveled it out. I built a TMU extension. You can kind of see that in the background right there, off the extension of the garage, just to give me the additional room that I needed. And then on top of that, I can heat everything with this to keep it ambient temperature for the adhesive that's got to go on for the Philion. And that's why this was all built. It's being built so I can lay those rails down, get the wood put on them, and then get the Philion put on them from that point on. But that's kind of where we're standing at. But like I said, some of the challenges have been like just like the room constraints, a lot of wires that got to be cut. So guys, when you're going to cut these wires, when you cut that floor out, you need to be mindful. Just make sure you take pictures, you mark whatever you need to do. I've worked in the automotive industry, at least as far as repairing cars, so I can pretty much gauge what wires are going to go where. And I mean, for the most part, it's obvious. But if this isn't something you do frequently or have ever done, then you definitely want to mark your wires, take pictures, take lots of pictures. And then as we go along, I'll do more videos and I'll show more reference points on how I was able to ascertain the heights of everything and where it all needs to go. Another thing that I encountered was underneath the foam on the floor, there's like a metal underlayment type stuff, and you need to double check that. Make sure it's not all rusted out. Luckily, knock on wood, mine wasn't rusted. So all I did is I took some self-tapping screws and I pulled it back up to meet up against the frame, and then just make sure it's out of your way. Some of the other things that I've come across is you need to have numerous jacks. So I mean, make sure you got yourself a heavy duty jack, especially when you're taking off like the propane tank, stuff like that. That propane tank's not light. It's got a lot of weight to it. A lot of the rails are awkward just because they're so long. So make sure you have help when you're doing those. Getting the roof off, I had ripped everything down from the inside, and then I ripped everything down from the top. Basically, I cleaned the roof off prior to it coming off of the RV. So that's the easiest way I found, so you can pull it up over the front of the RV and get that whole roof assembly out of the way so you can get to those side rails and get the side rails done. Another thing that I did was in between each side rails, I just simply took a Sawzall and I cut all those panels out of there. And in later videos, you're going to find that the reason I did that is because I can use them as a reference point when I go to put the windows back in, because they're a direct fit inside of those rails. So now I know my positioning of where each one of those windows went, and I can get them perfectly lined up to the way they once was. Much easier than having to do all the measurements all over and stuff like that. Now, on one side, I will show you how to do the measurements, so you've got an idea of how to do the measurements. But if you want to save yourself some time, just use a Sawzall, cut those panels off. Just be mindful that that is aluminum, and when you're cutting it, you need to know your points of where those aluminum channels all line up inside of that RV, so you don't cut right through one. Another challenge that I faced is moving those rails. Each one of those rails, they've all got just little tack welds on them. And when you're moving the rails, like the front or the wheelbases, they like to just pop right off. So you're probably going to want to make sure you have a welder handy. If you've never done anything with aluminum, definitely skill yourself up on what you're going to need for an aluminum weld. I just bought all the parts and then just bought another welder so I can turn around and re-tack weld those. And I'm actually going to go through and tack weld a few more on them just as well, just because of how they tack weld these from the factory. I mean, they're literally just a simple tack weld. And that's it. Nothing more to it at all. With that being said, when you're doing your cradle, this thing right here, when you're doing this, you need to 100% make sure you got that level, because that leveling is going to come in play when I make my future videos, and you're going to understand why it's got to be level. When you're putting those rails on it and you're starting to put that filion on, you need a completely level base. You can't have any twisting, bowing, warping, any of that. It's got to be completely flat. That way, when you start stapling that wood back to those aluminum channels, you know it's straight, it's not cockeyed, it's not bowed, it's not anything, and that's going to help you along the lines when you start laying that filion down. Another thing that you're going to need for the filion, mind you, adhesive is very expensive, guys. So just the 5-gallon bucket of adhesive, I got some 3M stuff. I'll post in the comments exactly what it was I got, but it was $600 just for that 5 gallons. It's a contact adhesive. You basically spray each side. So you're going to spray the wood, let it cure up to a tacky state, spray the filion, let it cure up to a tacky state. And then at that point, you take some dowel rods and you run it along, you run it basically back down your wood. And then you're going to start removing those dowel rods with some weight that goes atop that filion, so you can start pressing those contact points together. When it comes to that adhesive, you have one shot only, guys. So you need to make sure you make that count 100%. It's just picture it super glue for wood. And I've done a test just on one little piece just to see, and yeah, you got one shot. So it's done right the first time. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to design this cradle, because I'm going to make a few alterations to the cradle. I'll show you how I'm going to design the cradle, so when you guys go to do this, you've got something you can push that wood and that filion and everything up against when it's on that rail. So all you basically got to do is have a couple helpers and then just start dropping it down and rolling your weight across it, so it levels out and it doesn't create any kind of bubbles when you're putting this stuff on. But with that being said, guys, please like, subscribe, and share my channel. I make these because I figure hopefully out there somewhere it's going to benefit somebody, and they're going to learn just as much as I'm learning when it comes to this project. And I can tell you right now, when you first start, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to be like, oh my God. And then on top of that, I'm building this for roughly right around $7,000. So that took some geniusness in trying to figure out how to source parts. Your biggest expenses is going to be your filion. It's going to be the wood. Definitely the filion and the wood are going to be your biggest expenses. But then I've added the difference of this is going to be solar. So, I mean, I've added a bunch of different things, and I'm still keeping it under $7,000. Now, I know a lot of you out there are probably going to say, oh, we ain't got $7,000 just laying around. And I agree with that. But I mean, if you buy one of these, you can get it cheap enough. It's not like you got to do this overnight. I mean, this project here will probably span right on into the spring for me. I'm not trying to overwhelm myself and make mistakes. I'm just trying to show the process and the steps on how I'm doing it. Users may vary, I guess you can say. But with that being said, like I said, you guys got any comments, questions, post them, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. That being said, thanks for watching, guys, and hope everybody has a great night. Bye.